host Lisa Darmanin, and I'm speaking to you live from the heart of our SailGP technical site, just meters away from where the F50s are being prepared and the athletes are gearing up for all the action this weekend. As we get underway here today and ahead of this weekend's racing, I'd like to mention that SailGP acknowledges the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. And so to this weekend. This is the 9th event of 11 that makes up SailGP Season 3. So we are very much on the home straight. It's make or break time for many teams to seize a spot in the all-important Grand Final in San Francisco in May and be in a chance with winning that Season 3 championship trophy. It's a wonderful return visit for SailGP this weekend to the stunning waters of Sydney Harbour, one of the world's great backdrops for sport. And we thank our partners, Destination New South Wales, and title partner KPMG for making this all possible. If the rest of the season is anything to go by, we can expect an action-packed weekend. So let's get into it and hear from the stars of the show, the SailGP drivers. Let's welcome our first 5 of 9 drivers to the stage. Hot on the heels of season leaders Australia, it's the driver of the New Zealand SailGP team, Peter Burling. Fighting to keep his season alive this weekend, it's United States driver Jimmy Spithill. Season 3 leader and 2-time defending SailGP champion Tom Slingsby of Australia. Coming into Sydney hot off a best season performance in Singapore is Sebastian Schneider of Switzerland. And the current occupant of the all-important 3rd place in the season standings, Sir Ben Ainslie of Great Britain. Tom, it's your home event, so we'll start with you. How good is it to finally be back here on Sydney Harbour after a long season?
It's awesome. I think everyone in all the other teams would be lying if they said this wasn't one of their preferred stops, or if not the favourite stop. Yeah, and the weather's turning it on. Beautiful sea breeze yesterday. Everyone was out there having a lot of fun, and yeah, the forecast looks great for the weekend. So yeah, we're really excited.
Now we are getting to the pointy at the end of the season. You mentioned after Singapore, the team can now relax a little bit and just enjoy the racing. Barring a disaster, do you feel like your spot in the grand final is reasonably secure, given that you would have to finish on average 5 places behind the French in each of the next 3 events to lose a spot in the final?
Maybe it's the pessimist inside me, but no, I don't feel like we're locked in yet. I think in this fleet, we've seen it multiple times over the last few years that collisions happen. And if you're deemed to be in the wrong, it can be a millimetre here or there, whether you're in the right or wrong. You lose season points, and there's some big points there. So no, for me, I definitely don't feel like we're locked in. For sure, if we have a really good result here, we are then pretty much almost mathematically locked in, but I'm just focused on this event and try to have a good one here, and then we can relax a bit after Sydney if we have a great result.
Well, your nearest rivals are the Kiwis and Pete. That's why they put Jimmy in between you guys. What did you think of their performance in Singapore? They seem the most likely right now to challenge you for the crown.
Yeah, look, I think New Zealand, they've definitely been the best performing team for the second half of the season. I think we started pretty well, but I guess since Plymouth, these guys have been the dominant team. They've had a few mistakes here and there, which have let us get a little points gap on them, but we understand the real picture that aside from some penalty points there, that would be pretty much even points in the season, and that's how I feel we are. I feel like we're very evenly matched teams. They've got a lot of talent and they're in form right now. Their result in Singapore was impressive. And yeah, we're looking forward to racing them on home waters because we know we need a good result here, because if they beat us here and then they head to their home event in New Zealand, they're going to be full of confidence heading into San Francisco. So this is an important event for us to try to maybe ruin their momentum a little bit.
And if it is the Kiwis and you won too, who do you think will take that all-important 3rd place for the season championship?
I think it's pretty open. For sure, I think Ben Ainslie's team and the British are Sydney, they're a very strong team. They've beaten us here before, and last year they were doing well before their collision, and so I think they're an extremely strong team. But then, I think the French and Danish have a real good shot, and Jimmy and the Canadians have a good shot also to make up the points. I hear a lot of people saying that they're out of the race for third, but I don't see it that way. I think it's still pretty open, and we're hoping that all these teams start fighting a little and not worry about us too much, and we can get away a little, but we'll have to see what happens out there on the racetrack.
Well, Ben is the one person that upset your winning ways in Sydney here in 2020, and he has a new title partner with Emirates. Will he be a factor this weekend?
I think for sure, always. Ben's team, and here on Sydney Harbour, he's got probably the best winning record out of. It's probably a lot better than my winning record here in Sydney, and so it's great to race him here. And I know he's got such fond memories here. I have fond memories here, and it's great to sort of race the best out on Sydney Harbour. And I think Ben's team's doing really well, and it's great that they're doing so well off the water, signing a big partnership with Emirates. That gives us a lot of hope in the fleet that all the other teams that good things are coming our way, and commercial partners are all coming on board, and the league's just getting stronger and stronger. So, it's really a pleasure to race those guys this weekend.
Well, we got a bit of an insight to your team and your leadership in the SailGP docuseries Racing on the Edge, as well as some choice words between you and Pete. How's your relationship going?
With Pete, or yeah?
I mean, you can tell us both.
Yeah, gotcha. No, Pete and I are all good. We've been mates, and for sure I definitely lost my temper a bit in Saint-Tropez. The adrenaline was pumping, and it's hard to explain to people. They see me lose my temper out there, and they say, "Oh, geez, that was a bit overboard." And it's hard to explain when you're going at 50 knots and you have crashes, and as a skipper of a team, you feel like it's your responsibility to make sure all your crew are safe and the boat's safe, and there's a lot of pressure going on out there, and it's hard to explain to people who haven't been those sorts of speeds, and the reaction times are so little. It's easy for the armchair sailor to sit there and go, "Oh, he had plenty of time to avoid that collision. What's he upset about?" But it's a bit different out there on the water. So, Pete and I are great, and I've got no hard feelings, and it's just great for me to race some of the best guys in the world, and Pete's definitely one of them with all his results. So, it's a privilege to be here and competing with them.
Pete, do you agree?
We obviously always love racing the Australians, and it's just an amazing competition. For us, I suppose it's a bit of a surreal weekend, just with everything that's going on back home, and we really have our thoughts and sending our love to everyone that's been affected back there. Some of the stories we have been hearing of especially people from East Cape to Hawke's Bay, just makes you incredibly proud to be a New Zealander, seeing, communities kind of getting behind one another, and, people going massively out of their way to help each other. And it's just been a really surreal time. New Zealand's had, two massive events in the last kind of 3 weeks. So, I think in saying that, we feel incredibly lucky to actually be here. This weekend the team's going to be wearing an armband out of respect for everything that's going on back home.
Well, it was a fantastic performance for you in Singapore, starting the event with a penalty in practice and then going on to win the event. That must be great for the team's confidence and such an important part of the season.
Yeah, it was really, I suppose, a special moment for us to be able to come back from, being on the back foot in the training and to put together a complete result and to take out the win. I think that just shows the resilience we're starting to build up within the team, and that excitement of really having to take on a challenge. And I think that's a real sign of our team growing and maturing. And we're feel like we're in the same position again this weekend. The tech team's done an amazing job to actually get us to the start line. Obviously having a different boat this weekend, trying to make sure we're comfortable with that, and all the systems and stuff are working. And it's going to be another challenging weekend, but we're really looking forward to it. And I think, as Tom said, we're always excited to come and race on Sydney Harbour. It's such an iconic venue, and one that everyone in our team's had such fond memories of racing over the years.
Well, you are racing with your away strip with the white hull, and SailGP is one design, so the boats are theoretically identical. But does the boat feel exactly the same?
Well, it was the first time we sailed it yesterday, and it was definitely a pretty dynamic day. It was quite puffy, a whole heap of waves around the course. So, it was pretty hard to actually get a good feel for the boat, but it's within similar enough, and we're I suppose just really appreciative of the tech team for getting us out there and having the boat in one piece and looking the way it does to kind of keep our branding and everything. So we're just really excited to get racing this weekend, and it's been amazing to actually make the start line.
And will Amakura be ready for your home event in Christchurch?
We definitely hope so. It's just arrived in New Zealand, and it's on its way to SailGP Technologies up in Warkworth. And they're obviously doing a full change to their electronic systems that they got completely fried in Singapore, and also doing a structural test. It's been amazing to see how much damage a lightning strike can cause on a boat, and just nearly every metallic fitting on the boat's got little marks on it. So we really need to be super thorough in that check and make sure everything's 100%.
Well, it is just a few weeks now until that long-awaited home event. No finer way to enter your first ever New Zealand event, surely, than spoiling Tom's home party here in Sydney.
Yeah, well, we definitely enjoy the rivalry we've got going with the Australians. They're obviously great competitors, and we're great friends off the racetrack as well. So it's going to be awesome to race them. But I think the level of this league's getting so high now that it can be anyone's event. Everyone's sailing at a incredibly high level, and it's just about who goes out there and puts their best foot forward, and that's definitely what we're trying to do this weekend.
Well, I feel like the Aussies have rivalries with everyone because we love a good England-Aussie rivalry as well. And Ben, we mentioned before that you were the only person to beat here in his own backyard. Are you looking forward to having another shot at that?
Well, we just love sailing on the harbour. I think it's my favourite sailing venue anywhere in the world, and all of the competitors would agree it doesn't really get much better than this for these F50s. And there's always a good bit of Aussie, Pommy rivalry, banter, call it what you want. And we look forward to that. We love it.
Well, a huge vote of confidence in your team and the league yesterday with the announcement of the Emirates title partnership. Can you tell us a bit more about the announcement and what it means?
Yeah, it's a massive moment for our team, and I think for the league as well, to see a brand like Emirates, which is one of the leading brands in global sports marketing, coming in behind the team and the league. We've seen some of the other teams starting to bring in partners as well, some really top brands, and that bodes well for the future of the league. It's really important that this league attracts those kind of brands, and with Emirates we've certainly got, like I say, one of the leading, if not leading, sports brands in the world in global sports marketing. So we're very proud of the association and the partnership, what it means, and also the values of what our teams stand for, and Emirates coming in behind that. So exciting times.
It is the business end of the season, and you haven't won an event since Bermuda, the first event of season 2. You've had some unfortunate missteps in previous events, like that finish in Dubai. What will you do differently here to get back to your winning ways of the past?
Well, we just got to sail better. It's a very simple answer to that. We've had an up and down season. We've been trying to be consistent. We've achieved that most of the time, but we certainly feel like we've got to notch it up a little bit coming into the business end of the season, like you say. So, yeah, we're better than Sydney Harbour. We're expecting the next 2 events in Christchurch and San Francisco, on average, should get a little bit more breeze as we do here in Sydney. So, quite a different dynamic to some of the previous events that we've had on the league. So for sure it's going to be a really exciting finish to the season.
Well, it is a tight race course here in Sydney, and we can't not mention that last season's incident with you and the Japanese team. How do you put something like that out of your mind?
Well, you have to learn from it and move on. Unfortunately, one of the unfortunate parts of racing at this level and putting it on the line is you're going to make mistakes. That was a massive mistake, and it cost us dearly in terms of last season, getting into that final sail-off. And it just goes to show how tight this circuit is, and one mistake like that can write off a season. So you've got to obviously keep your wits about you and push as hard as you can, but of course, keep the boats apart and not slip up. And that's the balance, and that's what's so fascinating about sport, isn't it? It's trying to find that right balance, that right level, and that's our focus, our goal for these remaining 3 events.
Well, one last question on the travel element. I'm sure you travel pretty well with Emirates, but how does a long trip to the Southern Hemisphere affect your team and as athletes?
It's not the easiest thing. Of course, the jet lag. We've all experienced jet lag, and you come across sort of 10, 11-hour time difference. You've got to try and lock in pretty quickly. We don't have much time with the league. We only have 2 practice days, and then we're into racing. But it's something that we prepare for, we're used to, and it's just part of the challenge. So, yeah, we'll cover it. It won't be something that is going to affect us this weekend. And I just wanted to add, talking about bringing Emirates on board. I think Pete mentioned as well just the efforts that the shore team have put together with turning the New Zealand boat around. There's been a massive effort as well, getting our boat rebranded in a really short period of time. These deals don't just happen overnight, and that the rebrand of the boat was a significant effort. So big thanks to Brad Marsh and his team, and also from the league with Russell and Andy Thompson in terms of helping us to get this deal across the line.
Well, your partnership deal came at the same time that the league has announced a landmark 10-season partnership with Rolex. Seb, they also support your team. How monumental is this partnership for SailGP and your team?
Yeah, it's pretty huge. I think coming into SailGP quite late, I see the league growing every event, every day, and I feel very fortunate to be part of it. And having such iconic brands believing in SailGP, I think it's a big statement. So, yeah, obviously for us as a Swiss team to have a Swiss iconic brand that has so much sailing history, it's great, and we're twice as happy because they're as well one of our team partners. So, yeah, it's really great news and exciting times.
Well, last event in Singapore was by some margin the best we have seen your team perform, especially on day 2. What do you think the key difference was?
Yeah, I think it was pretty simple that we had much better starts. Once you're in that top 3 at Mark 1, the race is so much easier. You got some free air, free space to do your maneuvers, and I think that was a big focus point for our team. We've done a lot of homework on our starts, and we're looking to do the same here in Sydney again.
And how did it feel to bag your first race win?
Yeah, it was an important milestone for the team. I think we all knew within the team we were making some progress, but the results were maybe not showing it. And to get that first race win is really important. Gives us some reward, and it shows we're making progress. So I think for now our next step is to get that spot in one of the finals, and now we know we can win races. But to win an event, you have to first win races. So I think it's a first step, and step by step we'll get closer to the winning an event.
Well, your relationship with Nathan Outteridge is obviously working well on the water. His expertise on Sydney Harbour could be invaluable this weekend as well.
Yeah, it's been a really strong relationship. He's been boosting our team for performance for sure. And lately we've been working really well together at the back of the boat. And he's been helping us to learn the F50 faster than we would have without him. And personally I'm learning a lot from him as well on the driving side. And he's such a great personality to have in the team, very passionate and willing to share. So now we're very lucky to have him on board.
And you've had a little bit of a beef up in your coaching team as well. What's the rationale behind that?
Yeah, we did. So we've got Glenn Ashby with us this weekend and for a couple events till the end of the season. And Will Ryan as well, who's a very interesting athlete for us because he lives in Switzerland now. So, with the nationality rules, we have to look ahead and make our team as strong as possible for the future. And for us this season, it's all about building a team that's going to perform next season. So, bringing people like that in the team, it's really good for us. It's great to have such great athletes that we can learn from. And obviously, Glenn, just broke the speed record on land. So hopefully, he can help us to break the speed record on SailGP as well.
Well, finally, I noticed in training that you had 2 of your women's pathway athletes on board with Lorraine and Maud. Is this something we might see more often?
Yeah, well, as I say, we're just trying all different options for next season, and yesterday, without really realizing, at one point we were with 2 women on board, and it was going great. And I think we were very lucky to have such talented athletes in our team to be able to do that. And we're gonna see what we end up racing with, but we definitely have a lot of options.
Well, Jimmy, surely this weekend is really do or die for your team. You need to be in that final on Sunday and probably win to keep the season alive. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I think you're probably right in a lot of ways. There is a lot of racing to go. You know, Tom was alluding to that. I mean, they've got a good jump on the fleet, but they're still concerned themselves, and I don't blame them because things can just change so quickly. You know, Ben spoke about it as well. But for us, we also have to take confidence. I mean, we finished runner-up in this event when we were here last time to the Aussies. So we've just got to get out there, enjoy the harbour, and just try and string together 2 clean days of consistent results.
We know starting is key, and your starts seem to have been one of the key issues this season. Have you been discussing any different strategies with your coach, Philip Presti?
Yeah, we sure have. I mean, we've been looking at it very, very hard, looking through all the data. The interesting thing is it's very challenging to try and set up somewhat of a routine or playbook for the starts because it's so dynamic with 9 boats. All the different courses, it's not like a standard start line, they all kind of change. One thing that's going to be fascinating here is the integration of Shark Island in the race course, but probably the starting box like we saw yesterday. And you see through the fleet, there's no one really dominating the starts. There are definitely a few teams that have the ability to scramble and come back. So I think if there's, of course, you want to get to Mark 1 in good shape, but if there was something you could have or do better than the other teams, it would be the ability to pass and come through if you don't get off the line, which everyone will probably experience. But yes, we have been looking at that hard for sure.
And you've got your normal lineup back with Hans, your flight controller, this weekend. Does that give you confidence with the tight race course in Sydney Harbour?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, we've had a fair bit of rotation, which hasn't been ideal for the team this season. Fortunately, we had an incident yesterday where Erica broke a leg during training, so it was a real big blow for the team. I mean, she's, I think, one of the best sailors in the US right now, a key part of the team, and ironically a very similar injury to what happened to Paul Campbell-James in Denmark. So we wish her all the best and a speedy recovery. But in typical Erica fashion, she played it down. She was, she basically escaped out of the hospital with a leg cast and was down hanging out with the team, making everyone laugh again. So we also, thanks to the Aussies, we have Lucy Copeland, who will be filling in. And in typical Aussie fashion, she jumped straight on the boat and just started ripping into us. I think her first line was, "I'm here to help you guys win races again." And so, she has fit in seamlessly. Like, she's actually, her personality's a lot like Erica, she loves sort of a laugh. She just fits in well, and I think it says a lot about the Women's Pathway program where, you can get an athlete we've never worked with before, jump on and just seamless, you wouldn't know. So, yeah, we're excited to race with Lucy, and I'm sure she'd love to get one up on her teammates.
Oh, we wish Erica a good recovery. Thank you all. A great discussion to kick things off. Let's take a pause here and take an opportunity for questions from the floor.
Morning, Blue Robinson from Seahorse Magazine. I guess a question for Ben, if I can. Jimmy alluded to the dynamics of this racing. Tommy said it's 50 knots. Got to be reminded it's fleet racing at an astonishing speed. Just wondering about some insight into your pre-start and your thought process in that time. 25 seconds before the start, you're still a long way out from the line. When you're coming in, particularly at the end of the fleet races, when you're pushing to get in the final, are you just going for a clear gap at the gun at full speed, or are you factoring in teams you'd like to roll over just before to get in the final?
Well, there's a lot going on in these starts, as you can see, and 9 boats, it's very, very tight. Actually, the setup is really from around about a minute out that teams are sort of picking their positions. and where they think they're going to try and want to start. And then a lot of it changes in the final throws, because it's hard to judge from a minute out quite how you're going to come to the line, whether you're going to have time to kill or you're just going to be pushing all the way. And then, of course, what the other teams are doing. So it's very fluid. It's changing a lot. I think all of the teams are just trying to find a gap. If you hit the line at good speed, pretty much anywhere on the line, you know, the Ian Murray and Mel do a good job setting up a pretty square start line. Normally a little bit of pin end bias, but not a huge amount. So if you hit the line at speed anywhere on the line with a gap, you're probably going to be in the top 3 at Mark 1. So it's just looking for that space. Maybe if you were coming into the final fleet race before the podium race, you know, if it was tight with another boat, you saw an opportunity, you might think about it. But most of the rest of the time, honestly, you're worried about your own boat, trying to get a smooth start, obviously avoid any collisions, which we talked about, and gets that Mark 1 in decent shape.
Spin sheet, Annapolis, Maryland. Barbara says, ask a tough question, but I've got one easy one for Tommy. What's the total in your swear jar right now? How much is in there?
There's a few different currencies from around the world, so I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, there's been a few times there. So I'd say it's a few $100s now. Yeah, it depends on the level of swear word, but I think
find a good charity for it.
Yeah, I will do. But I think a few people saw in the Racing on the Edge episode that it's a bit of a team thing. We've all got a bit of a swearing problem. It's not just me, but I'm the one who has to put the money in. So I think I've got to change that dynamic and get everyone putting in a few dollars when they swear as well.
I have one for Jimmy. Jimmy, you've been at the top. You've been in the middle. It seems maybe you're pushing pretty hard these days. What happens to you psychologically when you know you've got to win? Do you push harder? And when you push harder, do you make mistakes?
Yeah, I think you've got to be careful. I mean, you've got to do what's right. You've got to work with the process that's worked in the past of when you're winning races. And often if you try and do too much, that's actually, you know, in some ways in these boats, actually quite dangerous. So, yeah, as a team, you really just have to trust the process, have to put the time in, see, okay, what isn't working, what are we not doing so well, and what are we doing well, and really focus on, you know, trying to build those weaknesses up back into strength. So, again, look, it's good. We've got our frontline team back here besides Erica, and look, we had a good day yesterday, you know, mixed results, but we had some up the front, up the back. Today would just be another great opportunity to get some hours in together as a group, racing against these guys, and we'll just take it one at a time.
We might take one more and then let these guys get back to preparing. Well, I think you guys are good to go. Good luck this weekend. Before we welcome our second group of athletes, we'll take a quick break to reset. Please stay in your seats and we'll be back in just a few minutes' time. Opening press conference for the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney. Let's welcome our second group of athletes to the stage. Making his SailGP debut as driver this weekend, it's Diego Botín of the Spain SailGP team. Second place in the Impact League standings and currently 5th overall, Nikolai Sehested of the Denmark SailGP team, presented by Rockwool. Third in the Impact League currently and 6th overall, it's Phil Robertson, driver of the Canada SailGP team. And looking to chase down Great Britain for a place in the grand final, it's Quentin Delapierre of France. Well, Diego, welcome to your first driver's press conference. How does it feel to be sitting here as a new driver of the Spanish team?
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to thank you the welcome and say hello to everyone. Obviously, it's amazing to be able to be driving an F50 together with all these guys and these teams, and I feel really privileged of being here, and it's a huge personal development opportunity.
What are you doing to bring the team together after such a disruption?
Yeah, obviously there's been some big changes lately on the team, and we just have to be super professional, to put the right bases and put the work to be competitive in season 4.
Yesterday you had your first day out driving. What was it finally like to get behind the wheel of an F50?
Yeah, it's obviously amazing to. It's a super important day. The first day you jump on these boats, no? And yesterday it was a challenging day. Obviously, it's never easy the first time you jump on these super high performance boats, but the learning curves through the day was super good, and the team was pushing the right buttons all the time, and yeah, we were excited for today.
What's your goal this weekend? Do you feel any pressure? And how long do you think, to get this team into a winning position?
Yeah, obviously it's obviously we feel pressure as athletes, no? And this is very new for me. So yeah, we are focusing on putting the best foot forward now, and using those 3 events to perform safely. That's the main goal, and be ready to be able to perform and fight hard in season 4.
Well, Nikolai, Singapore was your best result of the season with a second and your 3rd podium placing. Your confidence must be high coming into this event.
Yeah, obviously it's a different event, and it's great to be back in Sydney. We all love racing here, but it's also very different conditions, and I think some teams like these conditions more than others, and we enjoy it a lot. But performance-wise, we have been better in the past in the light medium, but now it's time to pick up the performance in the breeze as well, and I think it's a good time now in the end of the season to show that we can also perform in these conditions.
Well, much like New Zealand, you're in an excellent chance of doing the double, winning the Impact League and the overall title. Is this a goal for your team?
I think it would be a bit unrealistic to say it's a goal. I think it's definitely a goal to win the Impact League. I think saying you also want to win SailGP in 3 Grand Prix time is a bit unrealistic. Obviously, we always try our best, and we do everything we can to have good races and good results, but it was never a goal of ours to win SailGP in this season. We have a bit more long-term goals, and we're ahead of our curve at the moment, so we just enjoy that and do the best we can, but we're not going to sit here and say it's a goal to win SailGP now, otherwise we'd be disappointed. That would be a bit unrealistic, I think, for our team.
Well, looking just to the final then, you're just 3 points off 3rd behind the French and the British. What do you need to do now for the next 3 events left of the season?
I think we don't need to change much, to be honest. I think we just keep doing what we have been doing. Obviously, like most teams are at some point, but we've been quite unlucky this season with breakdowns and days where we couldn't actually race, and we're still in a hunt here. So if we can just have 3 good Grand Prix now without too many issues and bad luck, then it's up to us to make sure we also use that opportunity and sail well. And I think we just gotta keep doing what we're doing, then we're probably gonna sail fine.
I'm sure it would be nice, though, to win an event, and it feels like it's in the reach for your team. Do you think it could be this weekend? Are you going to take any risks or just be safe?
No, we're not going to take any extra risk other than we already are doing. I think some teams probably think that we are taking enough risk at times, but no, we just keep doing what we have been doing, and I think, yeah, it's probably be the best event to win, because you can really upset some personalities in this Grand Prix if you take this one. So I think that'll be the one everyone wants to win, but let's see. It's a long way from here to Sunday afternoon, and a lot of stuff can happen, especially Saturday's conditions in Sydney Harbour is probably going to give some upsets, and yeah, I think it's too early to plan too much.
Well, there is a big battle going on for that final podium place in San Francisco. The British are 1 point in front of you, Quentin, and the Danish, Nikolai, is just 2 points behind. Does this change your tactics on the race course?
Not too much. I think you feel pressure more and more after events, but yeah, I think the French philosophy is quite good enough for this time, and I have full confidence of my team. I think we had a tough Grand Prix in Singapore, but nothing changed. Everybody is looking forward and work pretty hard to improve ourselves. So yeah, I think we just have to keep the same pace and the same confidence.
Well, you touched on Singapore. Have you pinpointed what went wrong there?
Yeah, I did many mistakes personally in Singapore, especially in the force configuration. I was not good enough on the tactics, and I was too much into the boat technically. And also Kevin and I were not as fluid as we were. in the previous events. But it's also quite positive to see Manon at the flight control. I think she did pretty well. And yeah, that's the French team philosophy, to break barriers and give the opportunity to female athletes to reach this kind of role. Unfortunately, the scoring system just changed for Singapore, but it doesn't matter. I mean, Manon did pretty well, and she showed that it's possible.
There's also commercially been some outstanding recent news from your team with a core partnership. You must be feeling pretty confident about every facet of the future of your team.
Yeah, it is. I think, as I said in Singapore, Bruno and Simon did a really good job in the last month. But it's not only Accor. I think ICM.com and the V Group is also a really good news for the French team. And as Ben said, I think it's not only a team matters. I think it's also a league matters, and to see Emirates, the Accor Group or Rolex, it's a really good news for the league.
And what do you need to do to ensure that French team is in the final in San Francisco in May?
Yeah, I think it's definitely what we are aiming for. I will not try to push harder or something, but I will try to be more precise on what I'm trusting. I think our starts are pretty good, and I like the way we approach it, and I think we have to go deeper in this mindset.
Well, consistency is definitely a challenge in SailGP. Phil, it feels like that could be the main challenge for your team in recent events. Would you agree that's causing the mixed results?
Yeah, we've been a little bit up and down. I think a few teams touched on it earlier. It's really difficult to race when you're in the pack, and the teams that do that really well are finishing up on the leaderboard, and that's an area that we've been working on a lot. And we know we can win races. We've won a lot, but it's sort of those seconds and thirds and fourths that you've really got to focus on and nailing them when you're in those positions. So, yeah, we've been a little inconsistent. We started, obviously, the season really well, but look, we've got a very new team still and a lot of inexperience around us, and every day is a new day for us. So we've got to go out there and learn as fast as we can to be able to beat these guys.
Well, we spoke to Jimmy earlier about it being the last chance for the US team to make the final. Is it also do or die for Canada?
I think that's a funny question because, you know, there's a lot that goes on in sailing. There's a lot of external factors that play a big part in the end result. And we all saw what happened here last year. A capsize, even a lightning strike now is a factor that can wipe you out. And I think there's 4 or 5 teams in front of us, and if they're not pushing hard and ready to risk it all, then I think they're going to go backwards as well. And one crash or one mistake and it can be season over, as Ben alluded to. So yeah, we're sort of back in 5th right now, and we've got nothing to lose, and that's our attitude, and I think that's a great place to be at this end of the season.
Well, you touched on the lightning strike, and a result of that is that you've got a brand new F50 this weekend, straight from SailGP Technologies in New Zealand, which looks fabulous. It must be exciting to get to sail the newest boat in the fleet, and how does it feel?
She's shiny, that's for sure, which is quite nice. It's good for the mind when she's a shiny boat. You can see her lifting up there. But like, it actually feels really good. It's I'm shocked at how quickly the boat has been put together, and also how flawless it's been to date. It's impressive to see what SailGP Technologies have done and how efficient they are now, and the whole tech team here behind the series is quite phenomenal. We typically, for a boat, you would spend 3 days to commission something like this to get it up to speed, even though it's one design, and iron out all the little bugs that are in the systems. But we didn't have that time, and we put it in the water yesterday and went sailing for the first time, and everything worked as it should. So it's a real testament to SailGP and how much they've developed, and all the people behind sort of the series that make this thing happen.
Have you christened and named the new F50?
Yeah, we christened it with maple syrup. It might be a new one for SailGP, but yeah, it's actually really cool. We've got a fantastic Race for the Future partner in Oceanwise, and one of their big projects is around awareness and conservation of killer whales. in North America, and we've actually adopted a killer whale, our team, which is called Spirit. So we've named the boat Spirit after our killer whale, and the whole goal is just to raise awareness for the endangered species that are the killer whales and the orcas of the world and in the ocean. So it's quite cool. It's sort of, I guess, is part of our ethos as well, and our team spirit in a sense. So it's a name we're proud of and happy to be racing Little Spirit.
Well, you've raced here in Sydney a few times now. Now you've got a fresh boat. But what's unique about this Sydney Harbour Racecourse? Maybe something that the fans haven't noticed.
Yeah, probably how small it is when you're doing 40 to 50 knots. She may look quite big out there, but yeah, there is not a lot of space. So you are under a lot of pressure to manoeuvre, and especially when you throw a few spectator boats down the side of the course, it's not very fun going 50 knots towards them, hoping your board's going to get on the lock so you can turn. So be ready this weekend. Keep an eye out.
Well, thank you all. We'll take questions from the floor, and I've also got a few fun fan questions coming through. Any questions from the floor?
Nikolai wants to know where we keep our killer whale. And the big blue, buddy.
All right, I might ask Nikolai this one. Everything in the Australian sea wants to kill you. Does this make you want to fly higher?
Me or general?
I don't know.
I think it probably makes you fly a bit lower if you think of too much of that. No, I think it's a good question actually when you sort of not think of the animals that wants to kill you, but just in risk in general in their 50, how you change your mindset of flying the boats and pushing them. And as Phil said, you can't actually back off. Even though it's a small race course and it's windy and everyone comes together at the reach mark, you still have to push and not think of what could happen if something goes wrong here. Because if you think of that, then you're in the wrong game. So now you never fly lower. When the risk goes up, you just do everything you can to stay in control and deliver the best job you can.
We have another fan question for Quantan. What's your favourite wind speed in which to race the F50?
Sorry, Lisa, can you say again?
What is your favourite wind speed? Like how many knots or kilometres per hour to race an F50?
Yeah, I think Saint-Tropez was a good one for sure. I think all the skippers came back from this journey saying that it was unbelievable, and racing against 9 boats with a lot of wind as we had in Saint-Tropez was kind of a dream, and reaching 50 knots for the 9 boats on the first reaching, I think it was quite scary, but was also good adrenaline.
Well, certainly pushing the limits in Saint-Tropez. We have another question that will go off that. You've got the speed record. What is it like to go almost 100 kilometres per hour?
It's something crazy. Like the boat is shaking a lot, and the cavitation point of the foils are really difficult to manage, especially because we reached the speed record in the bareway. So yeah, it's tricky maneuvers, and you feel the cavitation, and you don't know the end. So yeah, I mean, again, a lot of adrenaline and full feeling on board.
I've got another fan question. I'll give this one to Phil. What's your biggest lesson learned from the last race that you want to apply in Sydney?
Well, I think the last race we did was drifting around with 2 hulls in the water, so I don't think it's very applicable to this venue. But look, I think every day you're on the water and sailing, you're learning something. And any athlete, if they're not learning while they're competing, it's you're probably not going to get to the top. So that's something we take forward every day.
I think we have a question from the floor.
Yeah. Hey, Phil. Louis here, SENZ. Good to see you, man. You guys talk a lot about the speed and then throw in Sydney and the particular nuances with the harbour. How do you harness that nervousness? Because you guys clearly do really think long and hard about getting out there and the speeds you go. So as an athlete, what skills do you have to harness that energy and make sure it turns into focus?
I'm glad it looks that way. Yeah, look, it's actually quite incredible, you know. When the first time you go sort of 60 kilometres an hour on one of these boats, it's quite a rush and you have a lot of adrenaline and it's quite scary to an extent. And then you go 80 kilometres an hour and then you go 100 and you just adapt. The human body adapts, and it's something I think which is, yeah, you don't really realise, but we're comfortable at these speeds now, and that's the future of the sport, is going 100 kilometres an hour around a racetrack. And as an athlete, if you don't adapt and you can't, then you're not going to be here sitting on one of these seats. And yeah, I think it's quite incredible. The human body just adapts to these speed, but yeah, this is the future and we love it.
I've got another fan question for Diego. What boats do you mainly train in?
That's interesting because obviously SailGP is very different to anything I've done before. I've mainly sailed 49er, Olympic class, and the Moth. Those are the boats where I spend the most time on. And yeah, obviously having had the chance of flying the 50 will give me some better times at the helm. And yeah, we don't get a lot of training on these boats, so it's very nice to be able to be sailing every day on these smaller boats, and yeah, puts us ready for the action here also.
Well, some great insights on just how hard an F50 is to race around a racetrack, and especially, it sounds like, in Sydney Harbour. For those wanting to catch the action, racing gets underway this Saturday and Sunday, February 18 and 19, just after 4 p.m. local time in the heart of Sydney Harbour. There's only a handful of tickets remaining, so if you haven't got one, head to sailgp.com to grab the chance to watch the racing from Genesis Island in the middle of the racecourse, or from one of our fantastic on-water spectator boats. You will not want to miss it. Also, a reminder that you can watch the racing live here in Australia all weekend, free to air on 7 Mate and on Fox Sports and KO. Head to sailgp.com/watch for details of how to see the action wherever you are in the world. And to gain a behind-the-scenes insight to the defending champions, the Australia SailGP team, make sure to catch the recent episode of SailGP's docuseries, Racing on the Edge. Good luck to all our teams racing this weekend, and enjoy the spectacle.